Well, okay, so let's jump into this discussion of free will. I did a little pre-log on it. Is free will self-determined? Is it is it just is it karma? I guess is the word that comes to my mind. Where everything is just showing up from the past, and you have no choice but to go down the life path that you're going. Or what's your research shown on this subject?
Well, clearly people make choices every day, and they're aware of making choices, and that is real. We live in a world that's defined by multiple possibilities, and there are more and more of them. I mean, when I was a little boy, there were three television channels. Now there are hundreds, and also multiple alternative sources. So we set up our world to live by choice.
Well, we do, and I think choice has to do a lot with personal challenges. And we make challenges that either seem to empower us or disempower us, or sometimes have a neutral effect. But how does this? What's your research say about will and personal overcoming personal challenges?
All right. Um, well, the term will is kind of a metaphor. We don't really have a psychology of will, but it corresponds to an experience that many people have of having to do things against their will, in which case their freedom is quite limited. So freedom is something that varies. That's part of the situation, and the human mind evolved to capitalize on those opportunities and to understand them and be able to mentally imagine, well, if I do this, it will lead to this outcome. If I do that, it will lead to that outcome. All of this is a big advance, and scientists argue as to whether it deserves to be called free will. For me, the free part is pretty much a given. It's clear some actions are freer than others, and that's enough. The will is a metaphor, but it's a metaphor for some real psychological processes. A decade ago, I published a book on willpower, which is really what got me into the idea of studying free will. Um, and that comes from studies on self control. And it seems like people's that self control does depend on a limited energy supply. And so when people are tired or they have decision fatigue or whatever, they don't exert self control as effectively. And we've done this in probably hundreds of laboratory studies, and other people have done it too. It's I think one of the most commonly replicated findings in social psychology that after you exert some energy or some effort um, to to control yourself, to alter your responses, to resist temptation or whatever, then your willpower is down and your self control is a little bit weaker for a while, and until it recovers. And it turns out the same energy is used for making decisions. So decision fatigue is sort of the same thing. Many people can relate to that. I remember one of my postdocs was getting married, and she did the bridal registry thing where you go to a store and pick out all the things so you don't end up with four toasters. But she said, "Oh, that was so exhausting. By the end, you could have talked me into anything. I had no no willpower left. It's just the energy required to make all the decisions. And come on, it should be a delightful thing to do. And you find it pleasant to make all these choices because you're deciding what you're going to get for your wedding.